What the f?
All right, so it's been a few days since I made the Cavalier video of the two together. I drove the green one around for the first few days, and the ignition started having problems. It won't click into position properly. You go to turn it on and it shuts it right back off. It's not the theft system. You can feel the actual spring in the ignition. You know, it should stay in a certain position. It goes right back. So I stopped driving that, and now I'm driving the red one. And I just came out of the junkyard, got some parts. I got a grill. They're both missing grills. Most of the yard was flooded. I can only get to one Cavalier of this era, you know, the early 2000s, well, actually the mid 2000s. I got this grill for 20 bucks. I mean, that's about what they go for online unpainted, but the ones you get online don't have the Chevy badge. So, and it's instant gratification. I have it. It has the little clips. You know, I like buying things locally. I don't like buying things online. These hubcaps, I got all four for 15 bucks. You know, not the cheapest, but they're Cavalier hubcaps. They'll fit. And, no, I'm missing a lug nut. Yep, they fit. And they, you know, they're from an older Cavalier, but I kind of like these, to be honest. So, I don't really like the more cobalt looking ones, the 5-spoke. These are like the saw blades. I like these. So I got those for 15. But the biggest improvement I got in this saw right now, this is actually out of a Sunfire, and these have way less issues than the Cavalier ones. These eventually come loose like this. This one doesn't work anymore. So this is out of a Sunfire, and again, this will work better than the factory one. I think it looks better too. It looks a lot sportier. So I'm going to slide that on right now. I'm just going to do this with the camera off, make sure I get this in place properly. I don't want to break this one too. This was 6 bucks. You can't go wrong for that. And again, already, I haven't even mounted it yet. It looks way better. Got the Sunfire shift knob on there. Let's see if it works. I had to mute there before I got demonetized, but it does work. The button works. That's nice. This one, see, these don't go bad like these ones do, because people twist these, they mess around with them. I don't know, I guess when you're shifting it, you're pulling on it, the sun melts them or something. You can see it's no good. But this one is tight as a drum. It feels brand new, so there'll never be an issue with this thing. Anyway, I'm gonna head back home, get these hubcaps put on, but I think first I'll probably clean them up. We'll see when I get back. So I'm back home with the red Cavalier. The nice thing is, the previous owner at least painted these steelies up, made them look nice and clean. So over here I've got the hubcaps. They're in really good shape actually, considering they came from the junkyard. Not too curb rashed up or scratched up. I mean, a fresh coat of paint would help them, but I'm not going to bother right now since the rest of the car doesn't look so good. I'm just going to give them a good scrubbing, throw them on, and from there I might go over to my shop where I have all my tools. No, actually, I have my ratchet set here. I might adjust the hood latch, close that gap on the hood. It wasn't adjusted properly by whoever fixed the car when it was in an accident. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. You see, hood latches always have a little bit of space for you to move them up and down and around to adjust them. So I'm going to adjust this hood latch a little bit, and hopefully that will allow the hood to close all the way. All right, I brought the hood latch down as low as it would go. And now the hood closes the way it should. Now the other problem we have is the front bumper, these little mounts right here. They're loose. And I don't think they're even adjusted correctly, because you can see the massive gap here. And this is pretty much where it needs to be over here, but also loose. So I'm going to open the hood back up and see if I can adjust these here. If not, I may have to go over to my shop in a little bit and adjust them there, but we can get this bumper up nice and tight where it should be and even. All right, so using a couple blocks of wood, screwing this down and hammering it. The issue was this was all bent up. It's supposed to look like this guy right here. That looks very factory, this bend right here. That's too perfect. So oh, this one has it too. It's just a little bit screwed up. You can see I was able to re-replicate the correct shape. This was all twisted up, bent up, and that's why this bumper was sticking out like this. This was just, instead of having this kind of step shape, it was just straight out. Not even, it was really messed up. I wish I had taken some video, but anyway, I'm gonna pop this thing back in here. It snaps into place to pull the bumper back in with the headlight like it's supposed to be. This one looks okay to me. It was just loose, but I think that's about where the adjustment should be. And over here I have the grill I got from the junkyard. That was white. You can see I painted it a flat black. It's a little dirty, but I painted it flat black to match the bumper for now. If and when the car gets painted, obviously that will get repainted to match the car. But for now, it looks better to have the grill black than have it be white or red. I guess red wouldn't look too bad actually, but I don't know. The flat black is much easier to match than trying to match a faded red. All right, and it's done. I'm gonna put the grill on and put the little radiator cover back over. And of course, being Big Al's Bike and Auto, you know that I had some of my classic zip tie and other random garbage pieces involved in this repair. You can see, you know, that's because this thing that the bolt goes into, on that side it's broken, so this will just pop right out. But we got nice triple zip tie action here holding it to the crash bar, and that's not going anywhere. Nice and tight. And this is just to give this side a little bit more help. It was a little more droopy over here, the bumper, because this thing has more play in it than this one. So, you know, that's just a little knockout from an electrical panel, slipped it underneath there. Got nice gaps around the headlights, just about what they should be from the factory. All right, nothing too interesting today. Just doing an oil change on the Cavalier. I think it's well overdue. The oil was pretty dirty. But, you know, nothing abnormal about it. Just oil that was ready to be changed, so that's good. Whoa. I bought another one of these little catch pans because my other one's really full, and it took less time just to buy one of these and to go empty that out. But, yeah, oil's looking good. You can see this thing is nice and dry underneath. Transmission pan, oil pan. Really no leaks of any kind. Suspension, I mean, a little weepage here and there. What do we got here? Oh, looks like just water. Well, it did rain today, so I guess that would make sense. But for you Northeast folks, got nice and clean underneath this thing. No rust of any kind, like a brand new car. I'm gonna get the oil changed out, change the filter. You can see it's got a new starter. I remember the guy telling me that. All right, the oil change is done. I gave the headlights a quick shining up, and now I'm throwing some Freon in the system. The compressor is working. The kid told me he had it diagnosed that some O-rings were leaking. However, he said he hadn't messed with it for a few months. When I put the can on, it was in the low range. It wasn't completely empty, so it must be a very, very small leak. And a product like this with the leak sealer, it's possible it may fix it. But, you know, these cars don't take too much Freon anyway. I'm going to throw a little bit in here, which I didn't have to put much. I already put in the green. You hear the compressor is running. Clutch is spinning now. Let me go see if the AC is blowing cold yet. Not yet. Probably needs a little bit more. But I'll at least give it a few days, see if the AC keeps working. If it does, I'll assume that it's fixed and that whatever O-ring was leaking is no longer leaking with the leak seal. All right, so I just filled both these up with Freon. This one, I didn't even realize it until after the fact. And both of them, just for the record, both of them were not empty. They were just a little bit low. So they have minor leaks. Most of the Freon you buy off the shelf, it's got leak sealer, conditioner, and all this stuff. So I usually try throwing a little bit in first, see if it brings the AC back and seals the leaks before I take it in and have it evacuated and go all crazy. This one, however, I didn't even realize, I didn't even think about it. I was just paying attention to the compressor, right? Compressor's on, clutch is spinning, the line is getting the condensation on it. I go, great, it's working, but no, just barely, not really much cold air coming through. I go over and I do this one, and I realize, well, the electric fan's not coming on in the red car. So the red car needs that electric fan working, obviously. This one, AC pretty much came right back to life instantly. It was actually blowing cool even when I got it, just not cold. And now it's nice and chilly. You can hear that blower motor's not too happy. But at least we got cold air. So this one just, and the Freon I put in has dye in it as well. So I'll keep an eye and see if there's any major leaks, but hopefully that should take care of it. I'll go over to the junkyard on Monday, or maybe tomorrow if I have time, and I'll get an electric fan for this one. Actually looks like a replacement unit, which is interesting. I'm gonna have to do some testing before I go pulling this thing out to make sure it's actually a bad fan and not a relay or a wiring issue or something. Let's see, we got an original one in here, it looks like. So anyway, at least we got cold AC in one, and the red one is not far away from it. All right, back over to the red Cavalier. Sure enough, it is a bad fan motor. If I bang it, you look, it comes back on. It tries to, at least. You see it spinning, and it'll crap out shortly after. See? All done. So it needs a new fan. Someone put a Chinese replacement. It didn't hold up, obviously, and I'll probably do the same, but that's the story with this one. I'm going to shut it down, and nothing I can really do with it at this point till tomorrow. All right, so the next day, I'm back at, take my mask off, don't need that. Back at the junkyard again. Same white Cavalier as you saw earlier in the video. I need to get the electric fan for the red one. All right, I'm back. Well, been back for a while, but finally have time to come over here and work on the red Cavalier. You can see I got the electric fan out from the white one at the junkyard, 14 bucks. And when I bring back the old one, I get $5 back as a core. So it was $9. How do you beat that? I didn't videotape me taking out the fan at the junkyard because I was kind of on a time crunch. They were closing. But let me show you. The process is fairly simple. I'll break it down verbally, and I'll show you me taking it out the best I can. I don't really have the most professional camera equipment. I gotta take these little pop pins out. I'm missing a few, but there should be 6 to get this off. And then once I do that, there's 2 10mm bolts up top for this like support between the crash bar here and the radiator support. I really don't remember what it looks like, to be honest, but once I have this off, I'll know. And there's 2, let's say they were at the junkyard. I didn't even take them out. I just bent the thing right back, but I think they're 14mm bolts down at the bottom to get that support out of the way. From there, remove the radiator a bit, and we have better access to the shroud, and then we can take out the 10mm bolt at the bottom. There's only one bolt that holds in the fan shroud. It's a 10mm on the bottom side, right about here of the fan shroud. So I'll go underneath the car. That's why I've got it up on ramps. Get that 10mm out. This is to get it out through the bottom. There may be another way of doing it, but this seems like the easiest way. This is the way I did it at the junkyard, at least. It only took me, I don't know, 2 minutes. But I was a little more aggressive with the car there, and this was already off. And then from there, I will pop this off the lip of the radiator, the fan shroud. I'll have it loose. I'll spin it upside down, disconnect the connector on it. And then at that point, you kind of have to wiggle it out because there's a cooling hose or something right there at the bottom. It gets in the way. But I'll get it out from there, get it out from the bottom, and reverse the process. All right, bear with the camera work. Get these guys out of the way. These are those 2 10s I was talking about. Now again, at this point, the junkyard, I just bent this out of the way. I'm not going to do that in this car for obvious reasons. So down here, I know it's dark, but let me get a light on. You can see there's some bigger bolts down there. Those are going to be fun to get to. I got to get that one. I got to get this one. And then from there, I can remove this, I also got to undo these. That's enough. All right, there we go. So that allows that to move now. Then I can get this thing out of the way. That's going to be an issue. I'm going to have to get that out. I like doing it at the junkyard way more, believe me. But I'm going to get those two 14, 15s, whatever they are, out. I think I'm going to have to get this connector out, and this thing's right in the way. But once I do that, I should be able to yank this out of the way, pull the radiator back, and work on it from there. All right, here we go underneath. 10 millimeter, bottom right of the shroud. There we go. That's the only bolt that holds this fan shroud in. Actually, right now I've got great access to this, which is the connector for the motor. There we go. That's out of the way. So now, and by the way, this is only a few seconds after I was telling you guys I was going to remove those 14, 15, whatever they were, bolts and that other connector. I don't think that's necessary, because the only reason you need to access up top here is just to pop the fan shroud off of the radiator. It sits on this lip, and I don't really think I need to be moving all this out of the way. The radiator's got plenty of play in it. It should be enough for me to get the fan shroud to slip out, but I'll report back if I'm incorrect, but that'll save me a lot of time and a lot of reassembly if I don't have to do that. All right, so it was a success. I was able to get the fan out, the shroud assembly, without removing all that other stuff I was showing you at the beginning. This is actually, as I suspected, a replacement unit, but it's probably some Chinese one that just didn't hold up. It's definitely not working. You saw me earlier in the video banging on it. It would come back to life and then it would die again. So we're going to swap it out with this OEM one over here and hope that one works. But geez, this is probably a junkyard one too. Look, it's got the markings on it just like mine. How about that? So we'll see if I get luckier at my junkyard unit. All right, just a few minutes later, I got it back in. A little bit of sweating, but I got it back in. You just got to wrestle that hose down there, that one right there. I guess you could take it off, but it's got one of those ridiculous clamps on it, the ones that GM loves to use. Let me see if I can find another example. That one right there. I don't even feel like messing with that, so I just wrestled the hose a bit, was able to get the back of the motor to clear it, got it back up in here, and it's all hooked up. The mounting points slid in there on that one. You gotta lift it up. When you're sliding this thing back in, that bottom one right there, you gotta make sure that's the one that needs to slide in, and this one will do it at the same time. And of course, before you even do that, you wanna have your top one in right here. It rests on the radiator. So it's back into place. All I have to do now, put the 10 millimeter bolt in at the bottom I showed you earlier, reconnect the connector for the fan, bolt this thing back down, which I'm so happy I did not have to remove completely, and put the little cover back on, and we're back in business here. I get all confused. I said, geez, why do I have two of these bolts? Well, I remember I took the one from the junkyard car, threw it in my toolbox just in case I ended up losing this one. You see I got holes around here and everything. And I knew there was a chance I had dropped the bottom one out. I could have lost it. So good thinking on my part, but confused the hell out of me at the same time. But anyway, all back together. One thing I forgot to mention is I did take this out of the way. The little intake hose here gave me easier access, and I was trying to get that fan out. But, you know, that's just two 8 millimeter bolts, and out it goes. So let's see. Now I'm going to start it up, throw on the AC, and we should have that fan kick on if it's anything like the other Cavalier, which is the same freaking car. All right. All right, so I'm back from a junkyard run today, I didn't do any recording because I was kind of in a hurry, but I managed to get some good parts. I went up to the junkyard in Broward instead of the one that's more local to me, and I got very, very, very lucky. This is like the holy grail. For anybody that owns a Cavalier, you know how often and how easy these break. Even when you replace them, it doesn't take long for them to get brittle again and break again. So a lot of times, you'll see one that looks good in a junkyard car. You go to pull it out real carefully with a trim tool, it still breaks into a million pieces. This one is excellent. No cracks. So, major score. This is for the red Cavalier, obviously, that's missing this bezel. The green Cavalier has a good one. It has one hairline crack right between the vents, but it's good. As long as nobody touches it and takes it out, it won't be an issue. But you can see, well, you can't see, this car needs it. I'm going to put that in shortly. So very happy about this. It's going to make that interior feel complete. And this piece as well, which was actually custom made, because this is the other interior piece that really breaks in these Cavaliers, the piece that goes at the top of the dashboard where it meets the windshield. This plastic bezel always breaks, but if you look, someone had this custom made because theirs must have broke, and surprised they must really love their car. It was in pretty good shape. It was a wrecked Cavalier with low mileage, so somebody liked the car, and obviously they didn't mind throwing some money at it to make it nicer. So they had this custom mold made, which is definitely of better quality. You can see it's almost a little bit flexible, which is good. It's less prone to cracking, but this mold up for the top of the dashboard, that's going to be great. I can't wait to put that in. And both of these cost me, I think it was around $20 for both. If you buy one of these bezels on eBay, Amazon, whatever, new, they're $140. So I got both those pieces for $20. And this was on one of the Cavaliers, and I figured, I got this for $2 because it's kind of beat up, but I figured it'll look nice on the red Cavalier, make it a little bit sportier, rice it out a little bit. All right, so that was a lot more annoying than I thought it would be. I've got this in now, both the dash bezel and the piece in the back. And I'm going to be honest, some things broke. The dashboard itself, underneath this vinyl, the plastic is, and it wasn't even me, I don't think, but the plastic is so broken inside that I couldn't even remove it all the way, which is the proper way to install this. You remove the dash top, the pad, put the bezel in, screw it in from the top. There's some attachments, and then you put the dash pad on. Well, I couldn't do that. I had to get it in there without removing the dash completely. I was able to pull this side back a little bit since it is cracked in the middle. Not the bezel, the dash pad, and I got it in there. It's clipped in, it's not screwed down from the top, but it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, this thing already rattled like a box of Legos anyway driving down the road. It won't be any worse, I don't think. And that top piece, because it was a mold that was originally glued to a factory piece that was cracked, it doesn't have any mounting pieces, so I just laid it up there, but it's not attached. But again, it's pretty secure. It's not going to go anywhere. A lot of the screws that held this dash pad down, just from moving the dash pad around, trying to remove it, the little plastic pieces that held them in broke. So it's, it's not as secure as I'd like it to be. It's a little bit loose right here, but again, we have to remember the vehicle we're dealing with here. It's a $1,000 car on a good day. Well, maybe more in this market. I always forget we're going through this crazy phase right now. So those two pieces are in, and it looks 100 times better. I'm very happy I got those parts, and again, they were not expensive, but it made this interior look brand new because it was already in very good shape. Now it looks complete. Sometimes the old saying is true that you can't overthink something, and you just have to keep it simple, stupid. And so I put a I got a junkyard unit electric fan I put in this Cavalier because the original one wasn't working. The one was in here before, and it looked like that one had been replaced. And upon changing the fan, I noticed that there was some chafing in the insulation on the power wire going into the fan. So it was right toward the connector, and what I did was I just cut back the wire to get rid of that part. I also put some new connector pieces on there. Obviously I had to because I cut the wire. Hooked up this fan I installed from the junkyard that I was hoping was a good one. Doesn't work. Okay, so I started thinking, is it a relay, is it a fuse? Checked all that, and I started thinking maybe it's a coolant temperature sensor and it's not commanding the fan, but still when I turn on the AC, the fan should be commanded. So I just did a test. I've been looking for this guy, and I found it, the little power tester, Harbor Freight edition. And very simple. I just turned the car on, turned on the electric fan, and I checked, and I have power and ground, at least to those connectors right there that I put on. So they're working. You know, the connectors I put on aren't faulty. The wires are receiving, the ground's good, the power's good. I turned off the fan, and obviously the power wire shuts off. So I've got power right to the fan. So it can only mean one thing. I put another bad fan in this car. The AC is working in this car. It's holding Freon. It's not leaking whatsoever. And it blows cool, but again, it needs that electric fan running to make it cold. So that's the final step on this car for me. I just finished taking the pictures of the Cavalier. I hosed it down, looked a little bit better, but I always disclose in the ad that it needs paint, but you really don't want to show just how bad it is. You tell people it needs paint, let them come out and see it. But I don't think anybody buying this car at the price I'm going to list it at is going to be that worried about the paint. But this thing with a Mako paint job would look awesome. And I'll tell you what, if I can't sell it, I'll pick up a junkyard door and I'll have it painted and I'll try again, you know. But at this point, I'm into it for, I don't know, maybe 400 bucks total. The purchase price, I bought the hubcaps for like whatever it was, 10 bucks. Electric fan number 2. I can return the other one, and I will. That was 15. And I get a core charge on that. I get 5 back if I bring in the dead one, so 10. And then, geez, I'm trying to think of what else I've done to this. A couple little odds and ends. The dash pieces, the 2, were 20 bucks. So figure I'm into it for less than 400. But now, I mean, it already ran great, but it looks better. It's got the hubcaps. It's got a complete interior. The dashboard doesn't look like a Claymore went off in it. And the AC, ice cold, and now plus it has an electric fan, so it won't overheat. It never actually did. It never even got close to overheating, but it needs that fan, obviously. So it's got that, and that's working great. This is going to be a great car for somebody. And I'll tell you what, if I didn't have the Malibu, which is like my daily beater, I would keep this car, and that's what I would use it for. But the Malibu and I have a good relationship. It's been nothing but reliable to me, and it's a little more comfortable and a lot faster than the EcoTick. So I'm going to stick with my Malibu. Now maybe some of you are wondering, geez, you know, you've sorted this car out, why don't you sell this one to your girlfriend's mother? She liked the green one, and again, the green one I have way less time in, way less. And obviously I'm running a business. I'm not running a charity. Even for friends and family, you can't do that. You know, if you know somebody who's a carpenter, they're not going to do your carpentry for free most of the time. Whatever. Just because I'm a car dealer and I get access to cheap cars doesn't mean that everybody gets a cheap car for me that I'm friendly with. You know, so the green car was the perfect car for her, because all I had to do was put some Freon in it, and what the heck else did I do to it? And I dropped a battery in it, and that was it. That's all it needed. And the ignition's a little sticky on it. I just have to take it apart and figure out what's wrong with it, but that's, you know, 20 minutes. That's all that car needs. It looks a little bit better in terms of the paint. It doesn't have a big crater-sized dent in the door. And it's got good tires like this one does, good brakes like this one does. So, you know, I don't know. That car was a little more ready to go. I didn't have to spend much time at all. Really didn't spend any time buying or prepping that car for her. So that way I can pass it on to her at no cost, which I did. And I didn't charge her anything. And without having to, see, I've invested not much time, but I have a lot more time in this car than I do the green one. And obviously I'd want to be compensated for my time. And you could say, well, why don't you charge her $600 for this one? she liked the green one. And plus it's got the power windows, power locks, you know, the power trunk. So let her keep the green one. This is gonna be a good car for somebody. I'm sad to see it go. I've been driving this thing just about every day, on and off, cycling between the Malibu and this, and it's been fantastic. There's no doubt in my mind this car has zero mechanical issues, especially now that the electric fan has been replaced. You can just hear it humming away down there. This thing runs perfectly, shifts perfectly. The interior in this thing is beautiful. You know, it's nicer than the green one. So, you know, for now I'm going to put it up for sale and see what happens. It's not like I have to sell this car to survive. I want what I want for it. I got to evaluate the market. I mean, Cavaliers are all over the place. If it didn't have the dent in the door and the front bumper and grille matched, maybe I'd ask $1,500. Hopefully I get a reasonable buyer that understands they're buying this strictly for transportation and not to pick up honeys or anything like that. So that's the story. The car is done. I also put that nice exhaust tip on it for a couple bucks in the junkyard. I think it makes it look a little bit better. I didn't take care of this. I didn't take care of the gap here. Maybe this week, if I have time, I'll hammer that out a little bit. I mean, this just needs to be pulled. If you pull it here, it'll flatten this out a little bit. And same this quarter here, I could hammer that out a little bit. But again, I'm just hoping I get a reasonable buyer. It just wants transportation. It comes and picks this thing up. And if it doesn't work out that way, then I'll make it look a little bit prettier. But even with the tint bubbling like that and everything else, I just don't want to get into making this thing perfect. So that's the deal with the red Cavalier. Kind of sad to see it go. You know, it's amazing. I never used to be like this. When I was younger, you'd think you get older, you get smarter. But when I was younger, man, I was all about the hustle. I mean, I loved cars. I respected cars. You know, I wasn't one to just see them as machines and, you know, scrap them or beat on them or not give a shit where they ended up. But I'd sell them, man. No hesitation. Even this old J body, man, it's got me worrying about its future. You know, it's been a good car to me. I want it to get a good home. And again, I've put a little elbow grease into this thing and it looks a hell of a lot better than when I picked it up. You may disagree with that, but remember the hood, which you can see there's still a little bit of an issue, the gap here, but not enough that I really care. But the front used to have a massive gap, at least 1.5 inches. It didn't have a grill. The headlights I cleaned up before. They're already back to crap. Okay, I did a quick job on them, but you know, it looked better when the car was wet a few minutes ago. Put the hubcaps on her, fixed up the dashboard, the exhaust tip, and the most important thing of all, the AC. So anyway, let's get this video done. Thanks for watching, guys. I've got 2 more Cavalier videos coming out, and they're not of this one, just a little hint. And I might as well give you a little bit of a teaser. One, where's the other? Oh, the other car I picked up isn't even over here. It's at my house. But yeah, I got a lot of content coming, but I wanted to get the Cavalier video out first, and I'll roll out the other ones right behind it. So thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for the next one.